What's going on, guys? Welcome along to another video. I'm Matt over at DSR, and today I'm reviewing this Honda Transalp new for 2023. This bike is using Honda's 750 engine, which they do have in a couple of other different bikes. I've yet to ride any of those bikes yet, so this is my first time on not only the Transalp but also the 750 engine. Let's see how I like it. Starting us off with this engine then, as I said, it is the 750, so 755cc, producing 90.5 brake horsepower with 75 newton meters of torque. The good thing with this bike is you can buy A2 compliant straight away as stock, and then once you've passed your test, you can take it back into the dealer. They can go onto the bike's ECU and just unlock it back up to the 67.5 kilowatt engine, i.e. the full 750 with the full 90.5 brake horsepower. The good thing is you don't have to start on this bike on your A2 license and then when you get your full license chop it in for something else. You can just stay with it and just get it unlocked, so that way you can modify it, add all the bits and all the goodies at the start, and then keep this bike for a fair few years. One of the first things I've noticed straight away, the indicator on the left hand side is right at the bottom of the cluster. Naturally my thumb comes over and kind of hits the sensor where the function buttons are, and the function buttons do move. So in my head I'm cancelling the indicator or turning it on, but I'm not, I'm just moving the function button. This bike is going to set you back £9,500. That's without any of the extra packages obviously, but there are 3 different colour modes. You've got this, which is like the black with a little bit of red in the Transalp name on the side. You've got the kind of red, white and blue, and then you've also got a grey that's also got the red Transalp. It's nice to see though that whichever colour you pick, they're not going to charge you more for the extra colour scheme. They don't have a stock colour and then a purchased colour thereafter. A lot of other manufacturers do that. Although this could be a on-road bike only if you chose, the bike is also set up for off-road, for a little bit of byway green lane style. So it means you can come down these little tracks like this super easy. I'm 6'1", stood up. I am leaning over a little bit towards the handlebars. If you were going to be doing more off-roading, you'd be able to get some bar risers, I've no doubt, just to bring it up a little bit. There are 5 rider modes with this one. You can have sport, standard, rain, gravel and then user. So at the minute I've put it in the gravel. But the good one is if you go into user, you can then kind of adjust all the parameters of what this bike offers. I'm in second gear at the minute. The throttle is a little bit snatchy in gravel. When you're doing any form of off-road, you want the throttle as smooth as possible. I took the GSA off-road yesterday, and that in the Enduro Pro mode I have the throttle set up in wet, just so it is the smoothest I can get. This bike's soaking up all these bumps nicely. So if you sit down, actually most of the time when you're off-road you want to be stood up. Helps the suspension out the most. It means you can still control the bike, get better vision on the road. But if you need to sit down, how does it handle? Or if you take a wrong turn and you come down somewhere like this. This is where getting a bike like this in the UK excels for me. The road orientated adventure bike. Something where 75–80% of your time will be on the road, and it handles beautifully, lovely engine, handles nicely. But then when you come across an area like this and you want to be able to take it off-road, you can, and it can still handle that really nicely. Like that little stint on the road, found a little green lane, handles it. Turning circles really good on this. Got really nice tight turning circle. Ideal for not only city riding, if you're in traffic and you're trying to kind of filter through, but off-road riding as well. So I'm going to do this nice and slow, nice and steady. See how it handles on the slow speeds. Honda have got a great parts package catalogue, and this bike, I think there's like 4 or 5 different packs you could buy when you're actually configuring the bike at the start. You've got the adventure pack, the comfort pack, the touring pack, the urban pack, or if you want bits and bobs from each of them, then just go through and pick out the ones you want. You can get ones like the top box, side panniers, crash bars left and right, skid plate underneath, taller windscreen, quick shifter. There's all the bits that you'd want to make this an awesome bike. I am noticing my calves are hitting the frame, and it is starting to rub, so it's moved my position a little. When I stand up, I like to stand on my tiptoes and then point them inwards, so my knees are kind of forcing into the tank, so I can squeeze the tank with my knees. I've changed my standing position to kind of centre of the foot, and it's still hitting the frame a little bit. Gently on the brakes. It handles really nicely, kind of on these light green lanes, I'd call them. So my only real concern is that the throttle on off, that first 10% pickup, it is a little bit choppy. So I'm going to put it into wet or rain. Still a little bit there. Actually, the problem with having it in anything other than gravel is you are going to start throwing out like the traction light, etc., when the wheels start spinning up. Okay, let's get this into some twisties, see how it handles on the road. This bike does have 21-inch front and an 18 rear, so that's why I say it's kind of more set up for doing some light green lane and off-roading. But we'll see how it handles in the twisties. Looking at wind protection and doing your average 30-40 miles an hour, we do have a fairly good sized screen for this kind of bike. The wind is kind of my brow position. Honda also do a taller screen, which I think adds 75mm. So if you are a little bit taller and you are getting that turbulence kind of bashing your helmet, just get the taller screen. Simple fix. Slow speed handling, handles really nicely, flicks, kind of just goes where you want it. The weight of this bike is only 208 kilos, which is pretty good, and that's going to help with that handling. But also when you start doing like off-roading, just being able to manhandle and throw that bike around, always helpful, keeping that weight low. Okay, so I'm in sport mode now, and obviously we got some traffic lights ahead. Sport mode, 6th gear, 60 miles an hour. There is some vibrations coming through the handlebars. We do have a quick shifter up and down on this model. That is another added cost. Well, zooming up the traffic lights, let's talk about the seat height. I'm 6'1". When I'm central of the seat, I am flat-footed, just about flat-footed. The seat height is 850mm. It's quite a tall seat, but there are lower seat options if 850 is going to be too tall for you. It's quite a nice narrow tank in front of the seat, so it's not forcing your legs out. So obviously some seats are quite wide just to be like extra comfortable. Actually that forces your hips and your knees wider, which means sometimes you struggle getting your feet down. So yeah, 6th gear, there are some vibrations even in 5th. But these kind of back roads, it does handle nicely. You've got a nice wide handlebar as well, so that does help with the old counter steering. Looking at the ergonomics then of this bike, I do feel quite low down in the seat. Even though, like I said, it's an 850 seat height, I do feel kind of in the bike rather than perched on top of it. Top half, I am upright quite a bit, but the handlebars are like that nice distance from my top half. It's a comfortable position. The pegs are in front of my bum towards my knees, which means there's a nice bend in my knees, so long distance I'm not going to get achy knees. Overall, really comfortable riding position. Definitely got enough punch in the engine to do overtakes. You might have to just work the gearbox a little bit more with it only being a 750. Remember, the torque is where that low down grunt in the gears are going to be, and it does only have 75 Nm torque, so it's definitely not the gruntiest of engines. So a little bit more work on the rider's part is going to be required. There is some wind noise on the old helmet. It's not too bad. But the other thing as well is you can get the extra wind deflectors, which adds like plastic on the left and right hand side of the nose fairing. It's just to force that extra bit of wind away from you. Let's have a look at the electronics on this bike then. We do have full LEDs all around, nice to see. At the front here we have got a 5-inch TFT screen. If you go into the settings, there are actually 4 different display types you can have. So you've got type 1, 2, 3 and 4. Let's try type 4. It's also got phone connectivity, and inside the settings on the TFT, that's where you can go onto the user and then change the parameters, so you can kind of make the bike handle how you want. Bottom left under the screen you do have the option of adding in a 12-volt socket. I think it's always handy if you want to have your phone or sat nav. As I mentioned, quick shifter up and down, and we've also got self-cancelling indicators. I think for £9.5 grand, add in some side bags and a little bit of skid plate protection, this would be a decent bike to do a bit of touring and some light off-roading. It's comfortable. It's just under a 17 litre fuel tank on this, so you're going to get plenty of miles, because I know this is going to be pretty economical on the fuel side. At the minute I'm getting an average of 60 miles per gallon. Not bad. I imagine this would be similar to motorway. If you're going 60, 70 miles an hour, it's not going to be an issue. Like I said, light wind on the helmet, some vibrations on the handlebars and a little bit through the pegs. Apart from that, it is absolutely more than capable. Also, each rider mode has got different levels of wheelie control. Let's go find somewhere, pull up, have a little walk around of the Transalp. As you can see, this demo bike does have the crash bars. Always nice to see if you're going to go off-road and you do drop it. It's going to protect the vital parts. Fog lights on the front of this is another additional option, which more lights on the front is going to be more chance of the car drivers to see you. We've got the grab handles with integrated rear rack system on the back. It's nice to see if you're going to take some passenger, you haven't got to add any other grab handles or anything like that. So side profile, when I'm sat on it, like I said, 6'1". It's very kind of natural, fairly upright riding position. Sound testing, obviously stationary. It's never going to sound as good, but here goes. Tell me what you think of the stock exhaust. It looks pretty tonk, but easy enough to change the slip on. And then underneath we have got the Honda Transalp radiator guard, always essential for any bike. Suspension, we have got 43mm upside down forks and brakes. 2 310 discs at the front with a 2-pot caliper. Not the most braking power, but I'm not having any issues so far. And then a single 256 at the rear. As standard, we are coming with Dunlop Trail Max Mix Tour tyres. I had no issues earlier on. And lastly, under the seat, some of you have asked for it before. Little tool bag underneath. Small amount of space just under there for any paperwork or your wallet maybe. That's enough standing around talking about the bike. Let's finish this review on the road. As I mentioned earlier, the turning circle on this is super tight, which is really good. Or if you're doing off-road and you're standing up, you're trying to go around logs or anything like that, just favouring the clutch Nice and easy. Look at that. And if you want to get a bit more spirited, you definitely can. Obviously when you're a bit more spirited and you're higher in the rev range in a lower gear, definitely feel those vibrations. You may have just seen as I was braking for this, the hazard lights flashed. That's because this bike has got emergency stop, so if you hit the brakes hard it will just flash your hazards, just to let everyone know that you're doing a hard stop. And then once you stop doing a hard stop, you'll stop. As I said earlier, I think a bike of this price range actually ticks a lot of boxes of some of the more expensive bikes. I think the 890 Adventure, it's like 12-13 grand. I'll put it on the screen now. You gotta ask yourself, is it worth paying an extra 2-3 grand more? Depends how much off-road you're doing. If you're doing some serious amount of off-road / green laning, then yeah, the 890 Adventure may be better for the harder off-road. If you're like me, 80% on the road, having a bike like this is perfect for green laning. Do your tours, be comfortable, easy around town, and then you see a green lane and you pop down it. Changing rider modes is as simple as pushing the mode button on the left hand side, flicking through so you get the one you want to come off the throttle, and then it'll activate. I have thoroughly enjoyed my day today on the Honda Transalp. Engine's punchy enough if you want it to be, or if you just want to sit back, have it in the higher gear and just kind of cruise along, you can. Handles nicely off-road, and it's at a good price point. What's not to like? Well guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you like the video. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more videos coming weekly. And until the next one, ride safe.